My name is Daniel Cho. I'm 34. I do logistics planning for a mid-size furniture importer, which is a sentence that has ended more conversations at parties than I can count. I live alone in an apartment with too many plants and not enough furniture, which my coworkers find extremely funny given what I do for a living. Her name was Priya Nair. She managed client accounts 2 desks over from mine, and she carried a thermos that looked like it had been dropped off a building and survived out of spite. She was sharp in meetings and quieter outside them, the kind of quiet that made you wonder what she wasn't saying. We met during my first week when she told me, without smiling, that I'd parked in her spot and then spent the next 2 years pretending that exchange hadn't set the tone for everything after. We were not friends. Exactly. We were 2 people who had perfected the art of being annoyed at each other in a way that everyone else in the office found entertaining. She corrected my reports. I questioned her timelines. It worked. It had worked for 2 years. The night she asked me to be her +1, she said it like she was assigning me a task. My cousin's getting married. I need a date. You're coming. She paused, like she could already see the joke forming behind my eyes. And just so we're clear, it's not fake. I'm not doing a whole pretend boyfriend thing. You're going as my actual date. Don't make it weird. I had several responses ready. I used none of them. Okay, I said. She blinked. I think she'd expected an argument. I think I'd expected to give her one. The wedding was 3 weeks away. That was the first time I noticed the air in the room had changed, even though neither of us moved. The office smelled like burnt coffee and printer toner that night, the particular Tuesday evening smell of a building that knows everyone should have gone home an hour ago. Priya was still at her desk when I packed up, which was unusual. She was reading something on her phone with the specific stillness of someone trying not to react to it. You're still here, I said. Wedding logistics. She didn't look up. My aunt wants to know your dietary restrictions or the seating chart. Apparently, you're now a data point. Tell her I eat anything except conflict. That got the smallest real smile from her, gone almost before it landed. She's also asked twice if you're the one from the wedding text. What wedding text? Nothing. She set the phone down too hard for it to mean nothing. Family stuff. Forget it. I should have let it go. I didn't. Priya, it's fine. She's been asking about my dating life since I was 22. Ignore her. She stood, gathering her bag, and for a second, she looked at me the way you look at a piece of furniture you're trying to decide if it'll fit through a doorway. You really don't have to come, by the way. If this is weird for you. You said it wasn't fake. I know what I said. Then it's not weird. It's just a wedding. She held my gaze for 1 second longer than felt safe. Then she looked away and said something about the elevator being slow this time of night. And we rode down in a silence that had never felt that specific before. That was the first private admission, though I wouldn't have called it that at the time. I told myself I was just curious about the family pressure, the way you're curious about any coworker's life when you've spent 2 years sitting 8 feet apart from them. That was the excuse. It held up for about 4 days. The evidence started small enough that I almost missed it. The first piece was the seating chart. Priya's cousin sent a group text confirming numbers, and I was added to it under Priya plus Daniel. Not Priya's +1. Not guest. Just my name. Sitting next to hers like that was simply a fact about the world. The second piece happened on a Thursday, when her sister called while Priya was getting coffee and left her phone face up on the desk. I wasn't looking for anything. But a name doesn't have to be hidden to be noticed. And the contact photo on the screen was a picture of the 2 of us from last year's office holiday party. Cropped down from the group shot so it was just our faces, badly lit, and laughing at something I didn't remember anymore. I looked away before she came back. I thought about it for the rest of the day anyway. The third piece was smaller and somehow louder. We were finalizing a vendor contract, heads bent over the same laptop, close enough that I could smell her shampoo, something with cedar in it, unexpectedly warm for someone so precise about everything else. And she reached past me for the mouse, and her hand brushed mine, and she did not apologize. She just kept typing, jaw tight, like apologizing would have made it a bigger deal than not apologizing. I made a joke about the vendor's font choices to break the moment. She laughed once, but it came out wrong. Too quick, like she'd needed somewhere to put the tension, and I'd handed her an exit. I have poor survival instincts around women who organize their feelings like spreadsheets. I filed that thought under things to examine never, and went back to the contract. The fourth piece arrived the week before the wedding, when her best friend from college, a woman named Esther, stopped by the office to drop off something for the bachelorette party. Esther looked at me for slightly too long, the way you look at someone you've heard a lot about and are now cross-referencing against the description. "So you're the coworker," she said. "I'm a coworker," I said. "There may be several." "No." Esther's smile had teeth in it. "You're the coworker." Priya appeared from nowhere, with the specific urgency of someone trying to physically intercept a conversation. "Esther." "What?" "I'm just saying hello." Esther looked entirely too pleased with herself. "He's taller than the photo." "There's a photo?" I said. "There is absolutely not a photo," Priya said, in the tone of someone who had personally taken the photo. Esther left soon after that, still smiling, and Priya did not meet my eyes for the rest of the afternoon. I didn't push it. I didn't trust what I'd say if I did. That evening we stayed late again, finishing seating arrangements for the reception, and the office had emptied out around us the way it does on a Friday, lights clicking off in sections like the building was slowly closing its eyes. Neither of us said much. She was cross-referencing a spreadsheet. I was pretending to review a vendor invoice I'd already approved twice. The silence went on for 3 full minutes before either of us said anything, and I noticed, the way you notice your own heartbeat, only when something's wrong with it, that I didn't want to be the one to break it. She broke it first. "I changed your contact photo," she said, not looking up from the screen, "after the holiday party. I don't know why I'm telling you that." I went still. Not dramatically, just still. "Why'd you change it?" "Because the old one was you mid-sentence looking like an idiot, and I got tired of opening my phone to an idiot." She finally looked at me. "That's the whole reason. Don't make it a thing." "I'm not making it a thing. You're making a face. This is my regular face." That got the real laugh this time, short and surprised out of her. And something in my chest shifted. Not dramatically. Just enough that I noticed it had moved. The wedding was on a Saturday in late September. The kind of afternoon where the light goes gold early and stays there, like the day is trying to be generous about something. The venue smelled like cut grass and candle wax, and somewhere a string quartet was tuning up with the specific nervous energy of people who know 100 relatives are about to judge their pacing. Priya wore green. I noticed the green before I noticed anything else, which felt like it meant something, and I decided not to examine what. "You clean up okay," she said by way of greeting. "You should see me at a furniture trade show. I'm a different man entirely. I genuinely cannot picture that, and I don't want to." We sat together through the ceremony, her shoulder a few inches from mine, close enough that I was aware of every inch of the few inches. Her aunt kept looking over at us, with the unsubtle delight of a woman who had clearly placed a bet. At one point during the vows, when the groom's voice cracked on a line about not knowing what waiting for the right person felt like, until he'd stopped looking for it, Priya's hand found the edge of her chair and gripped it once, hard, and let go. I didn't say anything. I just noticed. The reception loosened everyone up the way receptions do. Wine. The cousin's terrible toast. a dance floor that filled slowly, and then all at once. Priya's family treated me with the easy warmth of people who had already decided something about me that I hadn't been told yet. Her aunt asked when we'd met. Her uncle asked if I was the furniture one. Esther, 3 drinks in, told me with great confidence that Priya had described me once as exhausting, in a way I've gotten used to, and seemed to think this was the highest compliment available. Priya found me by the drinks table near the end of the night, when the music had slowed and half the guests had migrated outside to the patio for air. She had her shoes off, held loosely by 2 fingers, and she looked at me the way she looked at a contract she was about to sign and already knew the terms of. "Can I tell you something?" she said. "It wasn't really a question. I asked you because I wanted you here, not because I needed a date who wouldn't embarrass me at a family thing. I changed your photo because I liked looking at it more than I wanted to admit. I've been doing this thing for about 6 months, where I find reasons to walk past your desk that have nothing to do with work, and I'm tired of pretending I haven't noticed myself doing it." She heard it after she said it. I watched her hear it. I went still again, the same stillness as that night in the office, except this time my chest didn't shift. It dropped, the floor of it giving way to something with no bottom that I could see yet. "You don't have to say anything," she said quickly, looking away. "I just didn't want to keep doing the thing where I only almost tell you. Priya, you can just say it was a nice wedding. We can go get cake. I'll never bring it up again." She didn't move toward the door, though. She stood there, shoes in hand, giving me the exit and not taking it herself, which is its own kind of answer if you know how to read one. "I don't want cake," I said. "I want you to know that I've spent 2 years arguing with you about parking spots because it was the only excuse I had to talk to you every day. I told myself it was just office friction. That's hiding with better branding. Every report you corrected, I looked forward to. Every timeline I questioned, I was just trying to make you say my name in that specific annoyed voice you use, because I liked it more than I liked being right." Something in her face changed. Quiet. The way a room changes when a window finally opens. That's the worst confession I've ever heard. It's the only one I've got. It's genuinely terrible. You've been irritating me on purpose for 2 years. I have excellent follow-through. She laughed, and it cracked in the middle. Half a sound that was something closer to relief. And then she closed the distance herself, her hand finding my sleeve first, like she needed something to hold on to before she trusted the rest of it. And I let her get there. I didn't reach for her first. I'd spent 2 years learning that with Priya. The only way through a door was if she opened it. The kiss was brief and gentle, and entirely her decision, and exactly 4 seconds after it, her aunt's voice rang out from somewhere near the cake table. "Priya, is that the furniture one?" Followed immediately by Esther's delighted shriek of vindication loud enough to turn half the reception around. Priya pressed her forehead against my shoulder, laughing in a way that shook slightly. "I am never going to hear the end of this. You started it. You're the one who told me it wasn't fake." I meant the date. I didn't think I'd mean the rest of it for another 6 months, minimum. You're ahead of schedule. I'm aware. 3 months later, she still corrected my reports, except now she did it from across my kitchen table instead of across a desk, and the corrections came with significantly more commentary about my font choices in general, as a person. A year after that, her aunt had stopped asking if I was the furniture one, and started asking when the wedding was, a question Priya deflected with the same flat precision she once used to win arguments about parking. My domestic habits, by her account, had become borderline concerning. She once found 4 different plants I'd named after disgraced furniture executives, and stood in my kitchen for a full minute, deciding whether that was a red flag or the most charming thing she'd ever encountered. She did not tell me which conclusion she reached. I have my guesses. 2 years later, when people ask how we met, Priya tells it as a story about a parking spot and a wedding she dragged me to under false advertising. I tell it differently. I tell people she asked me to be her +1 and told me very clearly that it wasn't fake, and that I spent 3 weeks being far more careful about that sentence than I let on, because some part of me had decided to believe her before I had any evidence I should. It wasn't new, in the end. Whatever this was, it had probably always been there, sitting quietly under 2 years of parking disputes and corrected reports, waiting for someone to stop calling it friction and call it what it actually was. It just took a wedding, a thermos that looked like it had survived a building collapse, and one specific sentence, "It's not fake," for either of us to say so out loud. What would you have done if your coworker asked you to be their real +1 and told you not to make it weird? And have you ever spent years mistaking the person you argued with most for the person you simply couldn't stop thinking about? Tell me your story in the comments. If you liked this one, leave a like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.